Imagine driving down the street when you see a tan dog with a pack of 10 puppies following her. She's so skinny you can see her ribs. You call animal control because you'll know they'll come to get her and her puppies, and you think that they will help them. Unfortunately, this isn't always the case. According to the Moby Foundation, only 1 out of every 10 dogs born ever finds a permanent home. That means statistically, only 1 of her 10 puppies will find a forever home, a forever family. When you think about getting a dog or cat, do you think about buying one from a pet store or adopting one from a shelter? I hope you're all thinking shelter. If not, I hope by the end of my speech you will. Today I will be talking about animal shelters and what effects people can have on them if they start adopting from shelters instead of buying from pet stores. By the end of my speech, you will all recognize fact from myth and learn how you can help homeless and sheltered animals. The 3 main topics I will be talking about today are shelter myths debunked, how would animals benefit, and Chad's story. Let's start with shelter myths. One thing you hear a lot of from people is that they don't want a big or strong dog because they have little children. This is assuming that every big or strong dog is an aggressive dog, merely based on size. In an article by the ASPCA, they stated that there is no evidence that big dogs are more likely than small dogs to hurt children. They also stated a dog's behavior is a function of many factors, including breeding, socialization, training, environment, and treatment by owners. Another assumption from people is that shelter animals aren't as clean or as healthy as animals from pet stores. This is also false. Most pet stores get their dogs from puppy mills or breeding facilities. According to the same ASPCA article, some puppy mill operators fail to remove sick dogs from their breeding pools. This causes the puppies to have congenital and hereditary conditions. Puppy mills focus more on profit than on the health and welfare of their animals. The last myth I would like to address is the myth that getting animals from breeders is safer because they know the family history and their bloodline. While you may assume getting from breeders is safer, purebred dogs very often have genetic disorders and medical issue predispositions as a result of their breeding, no less often than shelter dogs. Now that I've given you facts that disprove myths associated with shelter animals, I'll tell you how overcrowding in shelters affect animals. According to the No Kill Advocacy Center, approximately 6 million animals enter shelters every year. Roughly 2% of those animals are killed. That's about 32%. Out of the 32%, about 22% are dogs and 45% are cats. Unfortunately, kill shelters are still allowed and all over the country. Many dogs found by animal control or surrendered by their owners go to kill shelters. In an article by the Moby Foundation, when a dog is dropped off at the kill shelter, it has a 94% chance of never walking out. If the shelter is full, that dog has 72 hours to find a new family. If shelters weren't overcrowded, they would have much more time. A main reason for overcrowding is that people buy animals from pet stores instead of adopting from shelters. You can help prevent overcrowding by getting your animals spayed or neutered, licensing your pet, making sure you're ready for a pet before you get one, adopting from a local animal shelter, and teaching others about pet overpopulation. Now that I've told you about how overcrowding affects the deaths of shelter animals every year, I'll tell you Chad's heart-wrenching story. When researching for the speech, I came across Chad's story on a website called BarkPost. I would like to share it with all of you. Chad is a Jack Russell. Him and his mate Clarice were abandoned by their family in their home. There were also other dogs in this home. One day, while Chad had to protect himself and Clarice from the other dogs, and unfortunately he got bit. His wound became infected. A neighbor saw and called animal control. because she thought they could help. In this story, they did. Some people from the Georgia Jack Russell adoption saved Chad and Clarice from the shelter they were put in. Chad's infection was treated, but unfortunately, Clarice's heartworms were too severe and she passed. One day, a family started fostering Chad, and they found he had a phobia of men and a fear of strangers. In a year, he learned he was safe, and although still wary of strangers and strange men, he was doing better. His foster family said that Chad taught them how loving, giving, and thankful a rescue dog is. Unfortunately, this is not the story for every stray dog. Some will get euthanized if they are in a kill shelter and are not adopted quick enough. Now that I've told you Chad's happy ending, I would like to ask you a question. Now that you have heard my speech, how many of you will go and adopt a dog from a shelter today? If that is too much to ask, how many of you will educate others on shelter overcrowding and how we can help decrease it? Even small acts can help make a change. Thank you.
Good.